It was October when my husband and I decided to book an Airbnb for a quick getaway. We found this old farmhouse on a secluded road. You know how autumn evenings can be. That early darkness and the chill in the air that just adds a touch of spookiness to everything. We arrived around 9 p.m. and I was glad to see the host had left the lights on inside. It made the place look inviting and easy to spot as we pulled up with our dog. As soon as we stepped through the door, I got this weird feeling. It was like, you know, when you walk into a room and you're sure someone else is there. That's exactly how it felt. I thought maybe there was a cleaner still working or something. Before I could even say anything, my husband called out, "Hello? Anyone here?" I knew right then that he felt it too. Our dog, who's usually a great traveler, was acting strange. He was hanging back, super cautious. We explored the house, and it was clear there was no one else there. But that feeling, it just wouldn't go away. We tried to shake it off by watching some movies. When it was time for bed, I picked one bedroom but quickly changed my mind because it was freezing cold. We set up our dog's little bed in the corner, but he was being so anxious. He kept wanting to go outside and sniff around the house, but only if we went with him. It was odd behavior for him. Finally, we all managed to fall asleep, but at around 2:30 or 3 a.m., I woke up to a light going on in the closet. Now this wasn't just any light switch, it was one of those pull string lights. I was completely confused. Our dog went absolutely crazy, barking and cornering something under the bed. My first thought was, is there a rat or something that pulled a chain and ran under the bed? But when we looked, there was nothing there. We got our phones and crawled under the bed to check. Nothing. We searched the entire house. Still nothing. Eventually we went back to bed, but our dog kept growling softly from time to time, which was so out of character for him. The next morning, as we were discussing everything that happened, my husband dropped a bombshell. He said, "I thought I saw you in the closet when the light went out, but then I realized you were asleep next to me." I swear all the hair on the back of my neck stood up when he said that. I decided to contact the host and hesitantly asked if they'd heard anything like this from other guests, but they completely denied it, making me feel like I was losing my mind. But I knew something was up, so I did something that might sound crazy. I started talking out loud to what I felt was a lady ghost. Now, I'm not usually a believer in this stuff, but the whole experience was just too bizarre to ignore. I said things like how much we liked her house and that we were happy to stay there. I politely asked her not to scare our dog and to please not wake us up if she could help it. I mentioned that we'd be leaving the next day and that we appreciated her beautiful home. My skeptic husband overheard me and said, "Oh, are you talking to the ghost? I think you shouldn't. I'm freaked out and the dog won't leave my side." After that, something changed. It was like the energy in the house became less oppressive. We still felt like someone was there with us, but it was somehow easier to deal with. Our dog went back to his normal self, running around in the yard and not clinging to us anymore. Throughout our story, we never felt threatened, but it was crystal clear that there was something or someone there with us. It was an experience I'll never forget, and it definitely made me reconsider my skepticism about the paranormal. Last November, my girlfriend and I decided to visit her family in Indiana. It was my first time going out there, so we found this cheap, nice little Airbnb. The house looked like it was frozen in time, as if an old couple had lived there and left at the end of the 90s. We're talking VHS tapes, wood-paneled walls, and generic 90s senior decor. We arrived late, exhausted from the long drive. As soon as we got settled, we realized this place was in the middle of absolutely nowhere. There was no ambient noise, which kind of freaked us out. I put on a white noise app and we passed out. That night, I had a strange dream. I was surrounded by friends, all of us standing around a door that led to a basement. In the dream, somebody opened the door and all I could hear was a repeating voice saying, "Get out," over and over. Suddenly I woke up when I physically heard a loud one, "Get out." I was freaked out of my mind, but my girlfriend was still sound asleep. A couple of hours later, I woke up again. As I was lying in bed, staring at the bathroom door, I saw the shadow from the bathroom light suddenly spin, as if somebody had walked in front of it. When we finally woke up in the morning, we both looked at each other wide-eyed. The white noise app wasn't playing anymore, and my phone was dead. The charger had been pulled out of the wall just enough so that it wasn't charging anymore. The next day we discovered an unmentioned garage with 2 fully inflated air mattresses and a mysterious basement door. I had a terrible feeling and told my girlfriend not to open it, but she opened it anyway and slammed it shut quicker than she had opened it. Instantly I could feel a cold, heavy pressure pass by me in the room. She told me there was a bunch of lights on down there, so bright she couldn't even see the bottom of the steps. Throughout our story, I was constantly on edge. I would occasionally catch a glimpse of a white figure on the couch when I was in the kitchen. We also had moments where we just felt like we had to move to a different room because the energy changed so deeply. I started taking notice of which lights I left on and which doors I left open. Every time we came back to the house, different lights would be on and different doors would be opened or closed. When we finally discussed it after leaving, my girlfriend told me she had seen a black figure of a man in the same place where I saw the white figure. But here's where things get even more messed up. We're both 99% certain that whatever was in that house followed us home. About 2 weeks after we got back, I was sitting at my girlfriend's house by myself. Across from me on another couch was this huge teddy bear. No word of a lie, this teddy bear ripped ass at me. It was the most distinct sounding fart I've ever heard. I checked all over the room and there was nothing there that could have made that sound. The following weekend, we had just gotten back to my girlfriend's place after getting pizza. As I was getting out of the car, I heard a distinct woman's voice say my name. My girlfriend hadn't heard anything and her mom was asleep inside. After that, whenever I tried to sleep, I would feel this energy or presence walk into my room. You could feel it walk through my doorway and up next to my bed. It absolutely terrified me for months. But for some reason, I always felt this presence was a woman, an older woman. Strange things kept happening. One day I came down to my garage to find every light on and the door fully open, even though I distinctly remembered closing it. A couple of days later, one of my kitchen cabinet doors was open when I came home from work. My mom, who had closed it earlier, looked pale as a ghost when she saw it open. I finally managed to shake that feeling of something next to my bedside around March when my grandfather passed away. I kept some of his ashes in a silver bullet that I wear as a necklace. Whenever I would feel the presence coming around me, I would clutch the silver bullet, and I could feel the presence back off. Not long after that, we tore up the flooring in my basement. Following that, I could feel some energy in my downstairs whenever I was down there. One day, when I was leaving for work, I looked down my steps and saw a black figure peeking from around the corner of the downstairs. Since then, I haven't experienced anything else happening to me. But my girlfriend, she's experienced even more. It's like whatever followed us home has taken a particular interest in her. She's told me about objects moving on their own, unexplained noises in the night, and even seeing shadowy figures out of the corner of her eye. We've talked about moving, but part of us is afraid that these entities might just follow us to a new place. We've considered reaching out to paranormal experts or maybe even returning to that Airbnb in Indiana to see if we can somehow send these spirits back. But for now, we're just trying to cope with our uninvited house guests and hope that one day they'll decide to leave us alone. These experiences have definitely changed our perspective on the paranormal. We went from being skeptics to believers in a matter of days. It's made us more cautious about where we stay when we travel, and we always make sure to read reviews carefully now, looking for any hints of unusual activity. If there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that there are some things in this world that we just can't explain.